First is really to thank my big brother, President, to thank Jermaine, to also thank Claude. Claude was with us 2-3 days ago, and to just say it's just an honor to also have been here and to listen to my other colleagues from different parts of Africa, all of us sharing notes and doing peer review, such that we can indeed build an Africa of our dream. We can lay the foundation for the tomorrow that all of us are yearning for. Thank you very much. He's also my a fellow Lagosian as well. So what we see is to piggyback from what the Deputy Mayor have also said. Part of the things that you see with a city of the size of Lagos is also ability to be able to resist shock. The COVID-19 was also another example for us, where, you know, as large as we were faced with half of the entire, you know, countrywide pandemic. You know, we were the heart of the COVID-19 issues in our country, and we were also able to rise up, you know, and save life, and we're able to indeed respond very, very adequately and be able to put, you know, our strengths together. But one of the strongest things that we did, you know, that I think she also mentioned, was communication. You know, when you have a government that indeed was transparent, can accept what the faults are, what the mistakes are, learn, but communicate effectively and adequately with the citizens, then it can help people to plan, you know, and be able to understand what the issues are and how to be able to respond to it. So the challenge that we see in Lagos with its growth trajectory are self-inflicted, because each time we do big things, great things, what it does, it just sucks in a lot more people, you know, from different parts of the country. It's no news that it's a tiny little spot. Lagos is less than 0.4% of the size of our country. Lagos, indeed, is, like you said, is the biggest black city in the world, and it's growing, you know, at about 3.5%. Lagos is also surrounded by water, you know, which makes it also has its own advantage and disadvantages, you know. But indeed, what we see is to be able to harness the potential and the power of Lagos. Whilst we don't have a border post to restrict people from coming in, we need to continue to plan, you know, and see that all of our facilities might be stretched. So we need to be able to double, you know, those plans. And we've seen that, you know, come up very, very well in the last 4 to 5 years. You know, a simple example is even the cover page of our program here today, which is showing, you know, the skyline of Lagos. You know, I don't know, I mean, if people know what the skyline is now. I don't have I cannot project a picture, but if you look at that skyline, which is about 4 or 5 years ago, it has since changed, because we've been able to complete, you know, the rail infrastructure. We'll be able to put a proper, you know, intra-city rail infrastructure in it. So when you have a big city like that, part of the things that you need is how would you be able to ensure that your people can move effectively, efficiently, you know, in a more predictable time? How do you ensure that, you know, economic activity in the city is not slowed down? How do you ensure that the strength of the city, which is in the creative mind, which is in technology, which are the young, bright minds, how do you get them active? How do you ensure that they have things to work with, you know? And these are some of the pillars that we have worked with. We've set up a 6 economic agenda for ourselves about 4.5 years ago, where we said that, you know, transportation and public transportation and traffic management was one of the things we wanted to face head on. You know, and we've done that with an integrated mass urban transportation system, which uses the water that we have, which uses the rail that we have started building, and use, you know, an effective and efficient, you know, bus rapid system. So that is ongoing in Lagos to date now. Like where you have a Cowrie card, we have what we call a Cowrie card, which is designed by 28, 29-year-old young Lagosian that has issued over 4 million cards, like an Oyster card, that you can use it on the rail, you can use it on the waterways, you can use it on bus transport, you can actually use it also on taxis, you know. So that in itself, you know, at enhance, technology as, a strong enabler for us. But more importantly, it's making the city a lot more functional. And like you said, livability is important, resilience is important, economic sustainability is also critical, so that people can indeed know that they are in an environment where we need to share resources, we need to use resources effectively, but we need to understand that the strength of the city is about economic development. The creative mind I will talk about very, very, very quickly is also one strong place that we continue to, to raise, the bar. And I'm sure President is listening to me. He knows we need a lot of help, in that area. Technology is also one of it. I hear Nairobi, my brother, the governor of Nairobi, young, smart, well done. But, we said that we're a tech startup in Africa. Cape Town will come behind us. I like the fact that we're all checking ourselves and we're pairing ourselves, which is what we should be doing. All of the great unicorns in Africa, in Lagos, but we want to do more. We want them to be able to, have a seamless payment system in every part of Africa. We want them to be able to have any business connection in every part of Africa, right? But for us, we need to be able to build an infrastructure that will be cheaper, that will be faster, that will be easier for them to communicate. Because that's what the young want. We say that Africa is the resource of the world, it is because of the youth energy that we have, the youth population, but we need to get them engaged. We need to be able to create an opportunity and a belief for them that their tomorrow is guaranteed. And I believe, in things around MSMEs, in things around technology, in things around, creative minds, telling the African story to the world, making sure that we can compete, with the Indians, with the Hollywood in Africa. Right, and being able to put up, all of these right mix, and saying to ourselves, like the first panel said, that we need to hold ourselves together. The Caribbeans are coming right behind us because they also want to integrate with Africa. So that's some of the things that we're doing, and we're doing well in Lagos.
Thank you very much, Governor Sanwo-Olu, and also for pointing out that we do have two debates going on right now. One between Kenya and Rwanda, between Kenya and Ethiopia on sports. And then we have another debate right now on technology between Kenya and Nigeria. The common denominator in all of this is Kenya, it seems. So, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, I just want to ask a quick follow-up question there. And of course, you mentioned that because Lagos is a center of excellence, innovation, creativity, it continues to be a magnet for other people wanting to come into the space. As the saying goes, if you build them, they'll come. That being the case, what are your plans to decongest Lagos and to really make it livable? What we've seen on the island axis, whether it's Lekki, the greater Lekki area, Victoria Island, Ikoyi, those areas are being transformed right before our eyes. We're also seeing growth migrate to the mainland, but there's still a lot of spaces. I was in Ikorodu recently and was absolutely blown away by some of the infrastructure projects taking place there, but it's still not enough. What can be done to decongest Lagos and to make it a much more livable place? Financially, what do you need?
Thank you very much. So we have a sister city relationship. It's like a New York, New Jersey relationship. We have a sister city with our neighboring state. And by the way, it's only one neighboring state we have, which is Ogun State. The other neighbor we have is the Atlantic Ocean, so we really can't do. But we're also being very creative on the water as well. We're doing what you're seeing in Dubai. There's a lot of reclamation on the water that we're doing, but we're doing it very sensibly so that we don't have a pushback, from climate change. So we're doing it on the lagoon side, not on the Atlantic Ocean side. But with Ogun State, we have a sister relationship, so we're developing the city. Like there's another rail infrastructure that will be opening up in December or January. It's almost completed, which we call the Red Line. It actually goes into Ogun State, Agbado. It goes into Ogun State so that it can help citizens to live in Ogun State and possibly work in Lagos State and vice versa. So with my brother, the governor of Ogun State, we're jointly developing that. So we need to be able to complete those kind of heavy infrastructure. The other support that we need is we have 1 or 2 areas, outskirts of Lagos, in Epe area, in Badagry area, that we need to depopulate, and part of the things that we need to do is that we're planning to build the 4th mainland bridge, for example, again. The 4th mainland bridge, right, which is about $1 billion, right? It's like an M25. It's like, a ring road outside Lagos, so that we can take people, closer to Shagamu, closer out of, 4th mainland bridge would actually exit on Lagos-Badagry Express, Lagos-Ibadan Express Road, so that people can indeed walk in Lagos and live outside of Lagos. So deliberately and intentionally, we're building, those kind of heavy, infrastructure. We're also trying to build, a new airport, closer to Epe, outskirts of Lagos, so that we also can decongest, the Ikeja airport, which is also used almost all of his useful life. So that is also on the table, for us to be able to have a conversation and be able to deal. Then finally, we also have a film city. We're also building outside Lagos. So all of our major builds that we're doing it outside of the core Lagos, so that we can push those investments and we can push, a movement of people outside of, the old Lagos. But we're doing that, also ensuring that we can keep fiscal infrastructure, so we can keep fiscal planning, in place. We can build more schools outside of those. We can build more hospitals outside, and that's how it's been happening. Because really, there is no space again. In the inside of it, there is absolutely no space. So we don't have a choice. We just have to push it out there. But we're trying to do it responsibly and build, understanding that climate change is also real. Because, you've talked, my colleague here, and it was also said in the first panel, climate change is also real. So issues around adaptability and the kind of mitigants that we need to have is critical for us in Lagos. And these are some of the conversations that the president and other investors can also help us with. Thank you. And I'm sure you know too well how the political terrain of the country is. It's true that we've also been in opposition, but right now we're also with the central government. But I think what has happened more importantly in the last 5 years, I've been governor for 4.5 now, is that we've set up an association which is under the Governors Forum, where we actually do assessment of ourselves. It's just like the kind of mayoral and governors appraisals that we're having here, where we indeed, self-regulate or self-assess ourselves, and we do a lot of peer reviews. And we've said to ourselves, because a lot of us, have backgrounds that we know that we want to go back to, and we've said to ourselves that, see, we cannot continue to do the same thing and expect a different result. Let's do things differently. We have a population that people are craving for purposeful governance, where people want to be accountable for, where people want to hold their leadership, there are people in position of leadership, you want to hold them accountable. Let's do the right thing. And part of the ways in which we are set to begin to do the right thing, which we are seeing, is that even amongst ourselves, we exchange, visits, we exchange programs. I just commissioned a bridge over the weekend, and I asked another colleague from another state to come over and commission the bridge. So whilst he come, I explained to him, what were the challenges, what led to me doing this bridge now, and why, it's important, for me to explain to him the lessons, so that he's a new governor. He's just about 1.5 years old. And so he was very, very, enthused, and he was very encouraged, with what he saw, and he brought a lot of his own, aides and colleagues, his commissioners right down. And then they were challenging themselves. That's the kind of things we're doing. That's one. On the second side, we're also working with, different agencies like the likes of, Cooper here, where we have NGOs where we must, sign off on your yearly budget before the end of the first month in the new year. It's a must for you. You must ensure that before the end of the first quarter, right, your audited accounts are out, they are published. You must put everything online. People must be able to see your budget. People must be able to see your audited accounts. You must be able to have a robust procurement law in which, you can indeed be held accountable and all. So that is raising the bar of governance, and that is indeed is holding people a lot more accountable, and that's the kind of things that I see going forward also in the country. So that reduces the pressure from, our own side, of it. That's, yes.
Okay.
Thank you. So that for me, it's the way to go, and we're beginning to see, a lot of peer review coming, from that angle. Regarding the second question around how am I going to fund all of these, big projects that we've talked about, I think for me and for all of us, my colleagues here, I think we need to think out of the box. We need to be very, very creative, and we need to be able to ask ourselves, what are those things that we can do differently that can attract, funding for us? One way that we know, which we all need to do very well, is PPP. How can we bring in private equity? How can we bring private funding, to fund some public, assets? Part of the ways you need to do that is you need to come up, and be accountable. Make sure that you have, rating agencies rate your accounts. Make sure that you are, in a way where the regulatory framework that you have set up, is accessible. You must have an environment where sanctity of contract must be real. You must have a judicial system that is independent, that is transparent, that when you have disputes, they can't go to that alternative, disputers and get, So if those regulatory environments are there, the private sector will see you as a serious, public sector government, and they will probably be able to do that. That's on the PPP side. On the other side is also to look at the kind of assets that you have. Government will keep saying it's not in business to do business, but what are the assets that are just sitting in your balance sheet that are not sweating? What are the things that you can strip? We're not saying that you could just sell them unnecessarily, but what are the assets that you can hand over, to the private sector? They can manage well, right? And you can indeed create financing from it. You can free some equity from it, and you can direct those funding not to overhead expenditure. You are not using it to buy cars or to pay salary. You are reinventing it into other, projects that will earn, economic value, and projects that people can see and, that can change life for people. So once you have buckets of, investable, assets like that, you will see that the private sector will come. So one, you need to do PPP. Two, you need to look at assets that are just clogging your books, your balance, even as a government, refinance them or go on a lease so that you can raise some equity for them. Thirdly, you also can use the regular bonds, green bonds now, blue bonds are coming up, and the regular bonds, you can do 8, 10, 12-year bonds that you can use to spread your repayment, and you can look at it vis-a-vis, your receivables, so that you can tie some of those investments, some of those assets you want to create to the kind of monies that is available in the system. Make sure that you have audited accounts, be able to show and explain to the investing public that everything that they're asking for are things that you're using the money for. Be transparent in what you have done with it. If you say you're going to do this road, this school, make sure that those are the things that you've done with it. So that way, funds will look for you. So for us, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to raise, now we're trying to raise about $1 billion, right? And in some projects that in itself, they can also free, funding. There are projects that can earn, resources on their own. There are projects that can generate funding, on their own after, completion. But there are some projects too that might not be, which you are committed to ensuring that you do. So look at all various levels of funding that are available. Your taxes. Also do something which I quickly need to use. The power of title. Certificate of occupancy. Free your dead assets. They say buildings when people are. Make sure that you can, be responsible to your citizens so that they can create assets on their investment. Once you do that, they keep coming back, and you can raise more money, doing that. So different levels of funding. You can use bond, be it regular bond, be it green bonds, long tenure, PPPs, like I said, reclassification of assets, enhancing and improving your sources of internally generated revenues and all of it. If you do this, then you begin to see that you have a capability to raise the funding that you need for your investments. So Lagos, we just don't want to be a big elephant. We want to be an elephant that works. We want to be an elephant that is efficient, that is effective, that people can indeed rely on. That is predictable, that is livable, that is resilient, and has all of the trappings of a working mega city. So what that means is that we have a city, to ensure that the audacity to make it, first amongst equal is our responsibility. And to do that, we've cleaned up our regulatory environment. We've opened up our doors to ensure that all of the red tapes have been removed. We have a one-stop shop in which investors can come in and understand and tick all the boxes very quickly on how to settle in the system, so that you don't have a run around and you don't have to begin to beat your head as into how do I even navigate this place. We have a one-stop shop. So once the regulatory environment is clear, once the judicial environment is clear, what it remains is for the investment to come. We need investments in new areas of both transport infrastructure, on a rail that we're building that can carry millions of people on a daily basis. One rail corridor, on a daily basis is meant to be moving 500, 600,000 passengers. The numbers are real, and it will speak, to your return on investment. We need investment on the waterways. We're building new water ferry terminals that will move people from different parts of the city to another part. We need investment because we want to build another airport. The airport that we have in Lagos is a federal airport. We want to build a regional airport that will serve not only the regions in the country, it will also serve the West African region. So the numbers are also clear, and we've done all the feasibility and viability that can make it work. We have opportunity also in the creative industry. You know too well that when you talk of creative minds in the continent, it is Nigeria. And when you say it's Nigeria, it has to be Lagos. We're building the biggest, film city, in the entire continent, which we'll call the Lagos Film City. It will be about $400 to $500 million, where all the studios, we don't need to go to Hollywood in Los Angeles to go and do any movie, any film. The sound system, the studios, and everything, will be there. We're building, institutions for all of our creative industry. We're building museums and theaters so that we can keep African art, we can keep African monuments, we can encourage ourselves, we can make, ourselves, a destination for one another. And we can do this believing that, the uniqueness of everyone comes to bear. Let us see Lagos, as a small Africa where all of us can see as home, can come, work and play. We have already the biggest refinery, we have already the biggest port, so we just want all of it to work together, and the audacity to make it happen is with this government, and we will give you all of the right things that will give you the confidence, that is the right time for us to make those calls. Thank you very much.